Hi, welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation Conversations at Home. I'm Jenelle Riley. I'm an editor at Variety. So thrilled to be here today and wanted to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation has a COVID-19 relief fund to support SAG-AFTRA artists during this time. Information on how you can support this effort can be found in the description of this video. And now it is my pleasure to welcome today's guest. She's one of our best and busiest actors working today. She currently stars in David Fincher's Mank. Please welcome Amanda Seyfried. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
I choked up a little there because I know that your last name is pronounced Seyfried, but I've heard so many other variations that I was afraid I was going to say it wrong.
You know, sometimes I think, why don't I just change it to Jones?
Amanda Jones. I like it.
I mean, I think about changing it to Sadowski, which is my husband's last name, but people surprisingly pronounce that wrong too. They add a W when there is none. And so it's just, yeah. Last names, man, they really always get you.
First names too, because mine is spelled unusually. So I feel your pain to some degree, but you could do Seyfried Sadowski if you really want to confuse people.
That's, I just don't want to go there. It's too much.
Well, again, thank you so much for being here. This is primarily an audience of SAG-AFTRA actors who watch these. So I always like to start at the beginning and ask, how did you get your SAG card?
SAG card. SAG came with Mean Girls. So because I got my AFTRA card because I was as the world turns, and I got my SAG card because of Mean Girls. Yeah, because I had to like pay a fee, and I remember it being like a really big deal.
Yeah, that's how most people remember.
Yeah,
Something about
check. Yeah.
I actually didn't know you started on As the World Turns. I've been told that soap operas are such a great training ground for actors.
I mean, it's like 30 pages a day, depending on what your character's up to in every episode. I mean, and they shoot 5 episodes a week, so it's just a lot of content.
Wow.
More than you can imagine. I mean, with a play, of course, you've got usually around 100 pages of dialogue to memorize, which is just a lot and really daunting. And for anyone who's ever done it, it's, the best and worst experience of your life. But with this, it was just 30 pages a day. So you memorize it at night and then come in the next day, shoot all your scenes, and then get a new script. And then remember, it's just, yeah, it's like very word heavy. Don't really get much time to find the meaning in it all usually, which is pretty rough.
Well, I'm so happy you're here today because you're one of these actors who, even though you're very young, you've been entertaining us for years in all sorts of genres, musicals, dramas, comedies, horror films. And now you're playing Marion Davies in Mank. And I was actually trying to think, going over your very extensive resume, have you ever played a real person before?
I played Linda Lovelace.
Of course.
Couple 8 years ago. Yeah, that was the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time I stepped in someone else's shoes, and there's a lot of responsibility, different type of role, and harder, I think, because of that, because there's the responsibility of maintaining their, trying to find their essence and doing a good job telling their story hopefully as you like, as they would want it to be told. And you never know.
Also probably more challenging because people can go look at Marion Davies and, make compare. I mean, they can look at Linda Lovelace too, but they probably wouldn't admit it,
You watched Linda Lovelace. Yeah, I know. I know. It's not as easy to find Linda Lovelace, that's for sure.
Yeah. So how did the script find its way to you, and what interested you in the role and the project?
Well, I didn't know much about Herman Mankiewicz, and I remember Abby, my agent, called me, and I was at Penn Station about to jump on the train to come home. And she said, David Fincher's making another movie called Mank about Herman Mankiewicz. And I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting, because I'm a huge David Fincher fan. And I never expected to be able to join his world. I have low expectations for my career because I'm terrified of being disappointed. I'm terrified of getting my hopes up. And so I prepare myself for the worst usually. And she said he's, interested in you to possibly play Marion Davies, and it would shoot very soon. And I couldn't believe that I was even considered. I couldn't believe that I was even a name that popped up in his head. So it was shocking. The whole thing was shocking. And I remember getting pretty choked up about just imagining being invited into his world. So that's how it happened. And then we had a meeting within a week. I read the script, had the meeting that day from the day I read the script. And I guess it was a done deal, but I didn't know the kind of hoops I would have to go through. I just knew that it started with a conversation, and a really collaborative conversation between an actor and a director, which I found just enlightening and made me so hopeful about just my journey and just my part in this whole thing. Like, oh, a director's taking me seriously and listening to what I have to say. And oh, I have things to say. How amazing is that? Yeah.
I mean, David Fincher he's one of the most respected filmmakers working today. And there's a lot of talk around his process. We know that he likes to do a lot of takes. He's also known for getting brilliant performances out of his actors. What was it like working with him? What kind of a director did you find him to be? Is he super hands-on with the acting, or does he kind of let people do their thing?
It's both. There's a beautiful compromise in that he's like a gently guiding. If you get caught or he wants something very specific, he just gently guides you there. It was very obvious to me that he was very deliberate about his casting choices. So I did feel like I was invited there to stay. And that gives you a certain amount of freedom and confidence to get comfortable. Because I've learned that over the years, if I'm uncomfortable, I cannot perform. Not even to half my capabilities. If I'm not confident, I'm just crap. I'm not present, and I can barely remember my lines. It's a messy place to be. And I was really afraid that I would feel like I wasn't worthy, or I wasn't meant to be there, or, this was just, I don't know, too good to be true. Mm. And the thing that he does is make you feel safe, make you feel like he trusts you, make you feel like he cast you for a reason, and then lets you go. And if you need some guidance, he gently guides you. And if you need to do it a million times, he lets you do it a million times, because it's all going to end up being some kind of masterpiece. And I've never really had an experience like that. Maybe the closest I've had was with Lee Silverman when I was doing The Way We Get By on stage, Neil Butte play, the only play I've ever done with Tommy on stage, because, I had months to get into character. So yeah, that's a very long answer to working with David Fincher, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Whoever expects that David Fincher is going to know who you are and want to work with you, or Darren Aronofsky or Pedro Almodovar, like people that I love, you never expect that. So when it happened, or I didn't expect that, so when it happened, it was just even more beautiful of an experience. I had to pinch myself every day. I still have to pinch myself.
I like to believe David Fincher is secretly a big Mean Girls fan, and he's been planning on working with you for years. Because something people don't know about David Fincher is he's very funny.
He's really funny, really, really dry, really smart, really funny. That's what makes him so funny, because he's so whip smart. He's like 10 steps ahead of you. And my big fear was that he was going to think I was an idiot, because it's been a fear of mine growing up and has followed me for, and up until recently, I'm like, no, I'm smart. I am smart. But it's intimidating at first, but no, he lets you in, even though he's so smart. He's not one of those, insular,
Mhm.
isolated geniuses. He lets you in, which is amazing.
And you talk about comfort. I've been told by people who have worked with him that that's one of the reasons for the many takes is that he wants you to feel comfortable. He wants it to be second nature, so that it will be 100% authentic.
I mean, the thing that I took away with the multiple takes thing, which is one of the only things I knew about him as a fan, because knowing his process, he's a mystery, except there was a great Sunday magazine article that kind of opened me up to his whole process, which I was like, did he mean to do that? It, I think it's that with all that time, with each line, I really got to leave no stone unturned with this character in this moment. The way he wanted to portray her, the way I wanted to portray her. I feel like I'm not kept awake at night thinking, oh God, I should have done that differently. I gave him as many opportunities. He gave me as many opportunities to give him the moments that he was looking for.
You mentioned you didn't know much about Herman Mankiewicz when you first heard about this project. How much did you know about the making of Citizen Kane or Marion Davies herself?
I barely knew anything. I knew it. I'd heard of Marion Davies. I'd seen Citizen Kane back when I was in my early 20s, possibly even 19. I didn't know Herman Mankiewicz. I knew the Mankiewicz family name because of Josh Mankiewicz and Ben Mankiewicz, the journalist, and I'm a huge Dateline fan. I didn't know much. And Marion Davies, just an iconic movie star of the 1930s and 40s. That's it.
Mm.
That's it. And I grew up surrounded by projectors and nitrate films and 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter film reels in my basement because my dad is such a cinephile, such a movie buff. Charlie Chaplin, I knew all these people and I'd seen them work so often after my homework was done. And I didn't know Marion Davies, and I'm wondering why he left her out. But my dad is a big fan. And so I had to, go back and watch her movies and read her autobiography, which is great. My little Bible. And it was really fun to explore this particular woman because I don't think she was like many other people.
Yeah, I think she's kind of been mistreated by history a little bit. I think people have a lot of assumptions about her. I think she's been underestimated. I remember hearing this years ago that she actually bailed out William Randolph Hearst. She gave him money to help him out. Like, that's incredible.
He was having a rough time. She didn't take his inheritance. She was very adamant that she didn't want people to think it was ever about anything but her connection and her, loyalty and love for him. She was a solid human from, it's been proven, and thank God, because when you want to show the side of somebody, you want to believe that it's really true, and it totally was. It's totally somebody that we want to hang out with,
mm-hmm.
and she had her own things. She had her own issues. Not that we tap into in this movie since it's not about Marion, but you get a real good sense of who she was, even from the script, even from what we were able to portray with a short amount of time.
Was there any sort of special research you took on? Like, did you go visit Hearst Castle or anything like that?
No, a lot of people did, actually. I think
really?
Tuppence had gone up there. But I didn't. I think, maybe I should have. Am I a bad actor because I didn't do everything I could possibly do? I had that guilt, and I'm like, you know what? It wasn't that necessary. The set pieces were insanely accurate as authentic as they can be. That kind of stuff doesn't really make as much of a difference to me as they might to other people. I mean, I've seen Hearst Castle from a distance. When you do that drive up to San Francisco on the 1 as opposed to take the 5 up. But no, I never went. No. And I haven't been to her house in Santa Monica either. My big plan was to try to get Netflix to have a party there. What?
I didn't know she had a house in Santa Monica.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And you can tour it?
House. Yeah. Yeah. It's open. And I've yet to go.
Well, you have a good reason right now, so it's okay.
I mean, right now I do, but beforehand, it's so funny. Also, here's another thing, with the guilt of like, oh, did I do enough research? What I realized in this whole thing, like talking about Marion and doing the press for Mank and talking to other actors who've seen it and other directors who've seen it, it's so much to do with the script. Like, you really have to read the script to know how much research you really have to do in order to make that role count. And I think if I had done no research, I think I still would have been all right. I think we still would have really figured her out, really gotten to know her in a certain way, really got that dimension down, because the script is written, is a one of a kind. It's beautiful, and just there's so much going on, and it's like I totally understood her from just reading the script, and that just goes to show that writing is, I mean, that the screenwriter is the first step, and then of course the director. They happen to be related, David Fincher and his father Jack, who wrote the screenplay. And so I just gotta say, like, I think so many of us actors, because I know so many and I've talked to so many over the years about their process and what they do and how, what makes sense to them. And I think we put so much weight on getting all the information that you could possibly get before you can even step into the shoes. And I don't think that's right. It's like, it's about the story you want to tell. And I'm not saying you need to make stuff up, but how do we get the story right? What does a screenwriter want? What does a director want? And like the reasons we didn't have her have a stutter, there's just a certain reasons we didn't go into her. I mean, it's not about her, it's about Herman, but I've learned so much about Marion after shooting the movie.
Really?
Just from conversations that people have had and articles that I've read that had been written since since the movie was wrapped. And I just like, crap, I know all this stuff about her that I didn't know before, but it wouldn't have, and the first thing I say was, well, would it have helped me? And I'm like, no.
Might have gotten in the way, honestly, especially since, there's a specific story they're trying to tell.
I was very deliberate in that I did not want to see I didn't want a Citizen Kane refresher course, because that's not what this movie, it's not what my role in it is. I mean, I think you ask anybody in the cast, like, did you watch Citizen Kane beforehand? They'd be like, yeah, I did. I mean, of course, I would have too, but I was playing Marion. And the Susan Alexander Marion comparison is just, it's followed her whole life and her whole career post Citizen Kane. And so, I mean, first of all, Susan Alexander is not Marion Davies. And second of all, I needed to just put that aside altogether.
And Herman says that repeatedly in the film. He says it's not Marion.
It's not.
And I don't know, I can't tell, because Gary Oldman is such a brilliant actor, if he's being sincere or not, but I choose to believe he is.
I mean, yeah, it isn't her, but his relationship to Marion and Hearst and his involvement in their lives was exactly where Citizen Kane came from. So thank God for them, and to inspire Citizen Kane. But yeah, no, I mean, it is sad, and Orson Welles does make it a point to come back later on and explain that, no, it was this opera singer, this man who it's clearly Hearst and Marion, and that's okay. But sadly, it really, Susan Alexander stuck, and Marion kind of just went off into the background, and that's just, and so we have a chance here to to make that right in some way. And I hope she would be happy with this.
I think she would be thrilled. I mean, yeah, it paints her as such a lovely person and a real person, who had a genuine love for both these men,
Yeah. Oh my God, it's hard. It's just so beautiful the way the things that she says about him that aren't in the movie, of course, but it's just so clear to me. It was so clear to me when we were shooting or when I was doing the research that she simply loved this man. And I'm so glad that we got the chance to explain it in the movie with that last scene. And also there's another scene where if for people that haven't seen it, where I don't really have any lines, but I'm sitting there reacting to what Mank is doing, and just to see Charles dance as Hearst and my Marion connect, it's just it's so romantic. It's so romantic.
It is.
Like, made me cry when I was shooting it.
You just mentioned your two leading men. This film has the most amazing ensemble. Charles Dance, who plays William Randolph Hearst, Gary Oldman, obviously. I've actually noticed, like, going over your filmography, you're often a part of these really fantastic ensembles. And you're obviously a SAG Award nominee for your work in the Les Mis ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of have chemistry with everyone, all your co-stars. What's the secret to that?
I don't know. Luck. Extraordinary amount of luck. I mean, it's so hard to, like, the opportunities. I mean, there are many opportunities, I guess, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you gotta step in some shit as well as work hard. And maybe that's just the way it is for everybody. But yeah, I don't know. I've gotten lucky. Working with some great people. It's just fantastic. And then I absorb as much as I can from them without them knowing. You just got to get in there. It's got to be a secret. But yeah, I've been lucky.
Well, I was thinking about that. I mean, you've not only held your own, you've stolen scenes from people like Meryl Streep and Hugh Jackman and, recently Ethan Hawke. Like,
that is kind. I've gotten close, maybe, because they've certainly given me the best of them. I mean, when you work with Hugh Jackman, how can you not be just present there 100%? It's these people always help bring you in. I mean, not to say, I'm not like being self-deprecating. I definitely work my ass off, and I just want to be as present as possible. But when you're met, like, it's just, or working with somebody like Gary and Hugh and Meryl, like, you can't help but just, they raise the bar for you for sure, because they're just the best at what they do.
Again, going back to your filmography, you've done everything, so many different genres. I'm curious, back in the days when we could go out and about and people could come up to you in public, what is it that people want to talk to you about? Is it I know Jennifer's Body's fans are very intense, but also Mean Girls.
Mean Girls, it's always Mean Girls. It always goes back to that. And you know what? I think it's so special that was my first movie. That was my first foray into filmmaking, and, getting multiple takes and, not speeding through. Because, like we were talking about, soap operas, they do a whole episode in one day, and you got to rush through it. And there's something super fun about that, but it's also like, you don't really get that much time. And so that was my first experience, and having all this time and all this space. And it shaped me, and it made such a giant impact that the fact that that's the thing that people always go back to is I'm really proud of that. Mm. And I really have just nothing but incredibly fond memories. I mean, I have good memories of everything I've done, but that especially. So I'm not like sad about being Karen to people. Because it was the beginning. It was everything.
Well, I think actors especially appreciate, it is hard to play, because she refers to this as herself in the movie, I'll say it, she's not very intelligent. And that's hard to play without being cliche or over the top. And I think a lot of people really have a deep appreciation for the balance. Yeah.
It's, there's a delicate balance. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
somebody like that. It is insanely fun. Insanely fun. And I haven't gotten to play a character like that in a really long time, and it makes me very sad.
I was actually going to say, like you imagined managed to avoid getting typecast as that character, which is really impressive considering how good you were at it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just was like very deliberate when it came to the things that I wanted to do, but also I was at the mercy of Hollywood, and I wasn't well known in casting rooms, and I had to audition for every single thing that came my way, big casting calls and stuff like that. And so it's like I just wanted to work. So the fact that I got to make a like swerve right away with because I did Big Love and Veronica Mars after Mean Girls. Those were two different characters that weren't anything like Karen, and I was just taking what I can get at that point, and I got so lucky. I screen tested for them. It was a huge deal, and so I just got lucky playing those roles. But even after those two TV shows, it's just hard to pick and choose. You just want to take what you can get. And so it's in the beginning, it wasn't as deliberate because I just wanted to work.
Yeah, absolutely. What did end up being the most challenging part of playing Marion at the end of the day?
I think it was just to feel like my Marion was fitting in, because I see myself as a very modern kind of person. Like I'm even doing it, like I move my face too much. And people have told me I'm very animated, and I like, I mumble, I don't talk very loud, and it's just, you got to put on more of a show sometimes. And mannerisms for me are either super easy or super hard. And for me, I think the most challenging part was trying to fit myself into this era, to make it to not distract, because everybody seemed like, oh my God, like even during our table read, just Lily Collins plays Rita Alexander, and her accent was perfect and clipped, and she spoke so beautifully, and Tom Burke and his Orson Welles was so spot on, and I felt like, am I too modern? I just don't fit in. So it was the balance between understanding her mannerisms and making them work for me, and still maintaining this like natural presence without overthinking, and also trying to make her trying to fit in to that era of like, just throw away all those modern things I do.
Mm.
And I don't want to call them tricks because I'm not conscious of them when I'm working, but it's just it's what I inherently do. And when you're playing somebody else, it's like, you got to step into someone else's shoes really more than you ever have. And I never saw myself as good at that. And I'm like, this is my opportunity to learn something new, something different. But the basis of my acting is like to make everything feel as real as possible. Like I'm there. Like I am there. And, not having a very specific process, makes me always feel like I'm kind of lost at sea. And so I'm just throwing all my insecurities at you, but it's like that, all those insecurities, and the how special this project was and how special this woman was jumbled together. It just felt like a mountain that I didn't know if I could climb. And so there's another very long answer to possibly a question that could have had a short one.
Well, whatever you're doing is working. So
we're here because that's the thing. It's David Fincher. And I'm not like trying to knock myself, but I've been lazy, and he doesn't allow you to be lazy. And David Fincher, and you talked about like him getting brilliant performances out of his actors. Yeah. You know why? Because you get to do it as many times as you need to. And I think that's really kind.
Hmm. Yeah, it always confuses me when people complain about too many takes. I'm like, don't you want as many as you can have?
Well, actually, I to argue that point, I will say I would get very frustrated if a director was going on and on and on because they didn't know
Right.
what they were getting or what they wanted. And that is, everybody's been there. Everybody's been there. And for an actor, it's frustrating because you're like, I'm showing up, I'm here. You want, okay, yeah, I can give you this. Okay. And the next thing I'll give you, okay, yeah, sure. I'll give you as many colors as you want. And then when you realize that you've gone through the cycle of colors, since I'll use that again, and moments, and they're coming in and they're like moving things in the background and fixing the light or like making, and you're still on the same setup, and it gets really frustrating because you now feel like you're a little bit lost because they're a little bit lost, and everybody's allowed to be a little bit lost. But if you're on take 45 and you're not David Fincher,
Yeah.
there's something going on that you can't help.
He obviously knows what he wants. So I guess there's the caveat.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He's not changing lights. He's not really moving the camera. He's like, it's fixed. It's all about the actor at that point. And it's like, okay. And that's also a lot of pressure because you feel bad for all the people that are just in the scene, but I don't know. But it's not really true though, in this sense, because everybody was really super thrilled to be there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's such a beautiful movie. It's such a wonderful tribute to this woman who I really think was misunderstood for years, probably still is, and just such a great story. And I want to remind everyone that you can watch it now because it's on Netflix. You can watch it over and over again. Thank you so much for being here today.
I hope, I honestly, the thing about Mank, if I may, since we're talking to actors, I think it's just really nice to be in a movie where people are inspired, like actors are inspired, watching Gary and Charles and all these incredible actors that play these incredible people, and to get like really transported, which is what David Fincher does so beautifully. I just hope it makes actors feel like there's hope because I know, like, I haven't worked since that movie, of course. A lot of people are working. Yeah, great. That's awesome. I'm so glad. But most of us aren't. And especially with theater, like, makes me want to throw up, actually, like the idea that it's going to be shut down for so long. And the fact that people aren't working, I think, like, if anything, we can just really just go down to the base of the craft and like really appreciate it in some ways. And from just this beautiful piece of filmmaking, like, it's all going to come back. We're all going to get there again. And the fact that I'm getting text messages from friends who are actors and people in the business, like, expressing their appreciation for the movie, it's just like, I'm celebrating it tenfold more than any other thing I've ever done because I have to do it. I love it. And I just want to talk about it as, nonstop. And so I'm glad I got to be here, like, for the first time talking to SAG, and just, I don't know. It's just really, really special for me. So I'm glad that I'm with you, and I'm glad I got to do it. And thank you for having me. And I just love this union, and I want to get back to work, and we will.
Well, thank you so much. It's very special for us too. Honestly, we haven't had you before, and so it's such a thrill that you were able to be here. Thank you so much. And thank you.
I am. I'm able. I literally didn't have to leave the house. I'm able, just anytime. So thanks. It's good to see you.
You too.
So glad about this fund. I'm so glad about the money that's being raised for everybody that's out of work, which is, I don't know the percentage, but it's bad.